Hello everyone. Today we are looking at an important FA exam question from Water Resources chapter for a 75 acre development experiencing a peak runoff of 390 cubic feet per second from a 25-year storm and aiming to reduce this to 200 cubic feet per second using a detention basin under type 2 rainfall and runoff, for which the Q is 3.8 inches. What is the preliminary estimate of the required storage volume in acre feet based on TR-55 method and the provided diagram? So they gave us a graph here where type 2 and 3, type 1 and 1a type rainfalls are mentioned. On the y-axis we have storage volume by runoff volume, Vs by Vr. On the x-axis we have peak outflow discharge by peak inflow discharge, Q out by Q in. So first we need to understand the terminology in this question, and we have these four options. So from the question we know that the drainage area A is 75 acres. We have the runoff Q as 3.8 inches. The peak runoff is 390 cubic feet, which is nothing but the peak inflow or the QI in the denominator over here. And we are aiming to reduce this to 200 cubic feet per second, which is the peak outflow or Q out, that is 200 CFS. And also given in the question that the rainfall is type 2 and they want us to do TR-55 detention routing approximation, which is nothing but using this graph. Okay, so from this graph we have Q0 by Qi. So using Q0 by Qi, if we are able to get a coefficient, and if we compare it with the curves type 2 and 3, because we are in the type 2 rainfall, we will be able to find the Vs by Vr. So out of Vs by Vr, which is the storage volume by runoff volume, we need to find out the Vs. So what we are able to find in this question is the Vr, which is the runoff volume, which is nothing but the runoff Q in inches, which is the 3.8 inches given in the question, times the drainage area, which is 75 acres given in the question. Multiplying these two, we will be able to find the Vr of this question. So Qo, Qi, Vr, if we know all three, we just have to substitute and solve for Vs. That is the concept of this question. Okay. So with no further ado, let's start substituting things. So Vr is equal to 3.8 inches times 75 acres. So inches have to be converted into the feet because we want Vs in acre feet, not acre inches. So once you substitute all these numbers and use your calculator, you get Vr as 23.75 acre feet. Okay. And we have the Q out, which is 200, and Q in as 390. Q out by Q in will be 200 by 390, which is 0.513. Once you put it in the graph, 0.513, it will be touching it over here, which is approximately equal to 0.28 for Vs by Vr. So Vs by Vr is equal to 0.28. So, and Vs is equal to Vr times 0.28. And what is the Vr value? 23.75 acre feet. Substituting that into this question, we get 23.75 times 0.28, which is 6.65 acre feet. That is your Vs, which is nothing but option B. That's your answer.